Hey guys, Jim Noble here. Today we're going to test for signs of a bad alternator. Now we're going to hook our test meter up and set it on 20 volts DC. Now you must have a good battery before we can run this test to test your alternator. A bad battery will show signs of a bad alternator. The battery reading should be around 12.5 volts. A little above, a little below is not going to make any difference. Now if your battery voltage is below 10 volts, this could be a bad cell or just a rundown battery. So first we have to get the battery up to at least 12.5 volts. Now at this point, we want to check for any corrosion around the clamps or the cables or excessive acid leaking out of the battery. Next, with the meter hooked up, we want to crank our engine and pay attention to our voltage. If our voltage drops below 10 volts, this could be a sign of a bad battery, corrosion, or a bad connection at your battery, or a heavy starter draw. Now we're ready to check our charging system. We're going to bring our RPMs up above 2,000, and with all the loads off, we want to see at least 13.5 to 15 volts. Now at this time, if we're not seeing 13.5 to 15 volts, we're going to check for a blown alternator fuse. Some cases you have an alternator fuse, other cases you have a fuse link. Either way, they're usually hard to get to. Usually the alternator fuse is a higher amp fuse and it's encased. So what we're going to do is we're going to move our voltmeter positive lead to the back of our alternator bolt. We want to be cautious not to touch anything because this could arc out, and we want to see if we're still just getting battery voltage. Now if you have above 13 volts at the back of your alternator, you need to check and make sure that connection is not loose. Check your harness, check your fuse. Most cases it's a fuse. In a lot of instances, it's where it's been jumped backwards, it'll blow that fuse. Now on the other hand, if you're reading battery voltage at the back of your stud, most likely your alternator is bad. Now we can check it with all our loads on. We want our headlights on, high beam, our four-way flashers, our AC, blower motor to high, as well as our idle, both in park and drive. Now low idle can give you the impression you've got a weak alternator while it's idling, when in fact it is just an idle issue and not a charging issue. You may have issues with your battery light flashing, your blower motor slowing down, or your headlights dimming when you let off the accelerator or come up to a stop. In a lot of cases, this is an idle issue and not a charging issue. Now what I'm looking for here is either the idle to stay the same or to increase once I put it in drive. If the idle decreases, then I know that it has got some idle issue. It should always increase or at least stay the same. Now we can run the load test. At idle, it should be above battery voltage, 13 plus volts. Cruise speed, it probably will increase. We'll hold cruise speed for a short period of time to see that it doesn't fall back below battery voltage. Now in some cases, you may find when you hit your brakes, your lights will flicker or your blower motor will slow down, or if you've got your turn signal on, as it flashes, you'll do the same thing. The lights are dim and bright and the blower motor will slow down. In these cases, a lot of times it's either a weak battery or you have too small a battery. Well, I hope you got some value out of this. If you can, hit that like and subscribe. I'm James Noble. Thank you for watching.